You found it. It's the real news with your host, David Knight.
We just had a press conference the last day or so. New information from the Las Vegas Police Department, who had gone silent, not giving us any new information. They just came out and said, oh, by the way, something new has come up. We have to admit that there was a gunshot that was fired in the hotel suite. And a Las Vegas police officer accidentally fired a gun inside the Mandalay Bay mass shooter's suite during the investigation, they say. Oh, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Nobody was struck. Didn't hit this guy who's laying dead on the floor. No, that wasn't our gunshot. It happened. We're investigating it, just like we do with any officer-involved use of force. The round or rounds, oh, now it may be more than one. They're not really sure. Was it one shot? Was it more than one shot? They still don't know. He says it was not in the same room where the gunman Stephen Paddock was found dead, said Sheriff Lombardo. Paddock booked adjoining suites connected by a door, and it was in one of those other places. So it had nothing to do with him being dead. And yeah, we had shot go off, but we're not sure exactly how many shots. Here we are, how many weeks later? This is just coming out, and they're not sure how many shots. Well, when we come back from break, I'm going to play something even more amazing. This research about flight records that indicate a covert helicopter rooftop exfiltration may have taken place just minutes after the shooting stopped in Las Vegas. Isn't that interesting? It's from IntelliHub. We'll be right back. I'm David Knight. All right, let's get to this article about what some of the suspicious things that were discovered by IntelliHub. He says flight records indicate a covert helicopter rooftop exfil, an exfiltration, removing somebody, may have taken place just minutes after the massacre. Flight records and information obtained by IntelliHub show that at least one assailant may have been extracted via helicopter for a 10:21 p.m. exfil from the southwest rooftop of the Delano Hotel just 4 minutes before Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department helicopter, and he gives a serial number, arrived in the vicinity for the first time since shots were fired at crowd-goers attending the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival around 10:05. As the timeline indicates. This is very detailed, folks. Very detailed research that he did into this. Even more disturbing is the fact that the aircraft's transponder was transmitting the call sign SWA 4119. It's a call sign that was registered to a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 passenger jet with a tail number, and he gives it. I'm not going to go into all this detail for you. But here's the important point. The Southwest airline flight was scheduled to depart Tulsa at 2 in the afternoon and arrive in Las Vegas at about 3 in the afternoon. So it's 14:10, which is about 2:10 in the afternoon, arrive in Las Vegas local time about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But it was somehow delayed for over 7 hours, giving that code a new arrival time of 10:22. So it doesn't make sense that because the craft was headed north and was too close to the airport to be aligned with any of the runways. So why would that be there? They say, you see, the aircraft that was displaying that call signal between 10:21 and 10:22 that showed up on the radar for the first time at 10:21 cannot be a passenger jet. Why? Because the actual flight data confirms the aircraft slowed to a stop. It slowed to a stop. So here they're using the call letters of a Southwest Airlines flight that was delayed for 7 hours. And then that would put it around there about that time. And they got a transponder with that information on it, okay? And then they see as they're following it, it slows to a stop. Then it changes direction abruptly. Passenger planes don't do that. You can't stop a passenger plane and then change direction. It changed abruptly to a due north heading before proceeding to hover over the Delano for a very specific spot for approximately 1 minute. In fact, a helicopter, because its jet simply can't hover or change speed and direction with such intensity, they said this means that the operators of the craft were intentionally transmitting a fictitious call sign before they went dark altogether, invisible on the radar. Then to top it off, the October 1st flight data for Southwest Airlines is showing inconsistencies. And so he goes through all this. It's a very detailed article. I'm not going to read it to you on the radio, but you get the idea. You've got suspicious dealings. You've got a delayed flight. This is not something that would happen with a lone wolf shooter, is it? And as I just mentioned, we had the Las Vegas police say, now it appears that we've got a weapon that was fired inside the suite. we're looking into this, and we'll give you updates on it, but don't worry. It didn't have anything to do with him, and it wasn't fired exactly in that room. And when we find out just how many shots it was, we'll let you know. And you can trust them. Whatever they tell you, no matter how many times they change it, no matter how impossible or improbable, impossible, like a Southwest Airlines jet stopping, hovering, and then abruptly changing direction. Yeah, could be, because they tell us so, right? You just listen to your government, obey your government. Don't question anything that they tell you. Don't question it. Even if it's impossible, don't question it. They come up with an impossible conclusion, impossible details, and tell us that we're conspiracy theorists if we question. Don't have an idea as to what happened with this, but, if you question the impossible, then a real investigation begins with questions. A real investigation doesn't shut down questions. A real investigation begins with questions, and then you start to rule out the impossible. You start to rule out people who don't have opportunity, things that can't happen, people who don't have motive. They don't have a motive for this guy. They're bragging about how they're going to examine his brain in microscopic detail. Okay.
What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com.